All right, shalom, shalom. It's the brother Michael Ward from GMS Lake Charles Camp, coming at you again with another video through the Spirit. But before I do anything, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Kakadash. Double honor to the elders and the apostles of the Great Millstone who strive and taught us his truth. And blessings to you brothers across four winds, pushing his truth with sincerity. Okay, the title of this video is going to be called, it's going to be revealed by the fire who are the faithful. Because once that fire get brought up on us, the true men of the Lord, the ones out here pushing this 100% doctrine, once that fire get brought up on us, man, a lot of people, going to throw the towel in. A lot of people are going to, turn their backs, on the truth. Basically turn their backs on Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, man. A lot of people going to depart, from this thing when it start getting bad. Because the things that has come with. But you knew what you were signing up for, before you even got in the camp and got on camera and started speaking these things, man. The scriptures say, when thou comes to serve the Lord, prepare thyself for temptation. Prepare for these different trials that you're going to be faced with, these different battles you're going to be faced with, man. It's not going to be easy, but hey, the Lord is with you. And I'm going to start it off with this one. This is Isaiah 41:10. It say, fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy power. I will strengthen thee. Yea, will I help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Right, man? So when they get to putting our face on the TV, when they get to try to come kicking in Jake doors, talking about what they're going to do to us. The scripture tells us to fear not none of these things, man. Because the things we are going to go through, Yahweh Shah went through these same things, man. Being seeking after, man. Lord, it says, I am thy power. I will strengthen thee. He's going to give us the strength that we need, for whatever they try to do to us, to get through it, It said, yea, will I help thee? He's going to help us, just in case we have to be on the move, guiding our footsteps, letting us know where to go, where not to go, which way to take. It say, I will uphold thee with the right hand of righteousness, right, man? So we're going to be taken care of, but we can't fear none of these things, because the ones that get caught, and get to worrying about, certain situations, they eventually they're going to throw the towel in, because when you're scared, you'll do anything, just to get out of that situation. This is Psalms chapter 50 and verse 15. It says, and call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver thee and thou shalt glorify me. Right, man? We have the true name. The scriptures say I don't want to butcher the scripture. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe. Right, man? We have the true names to call upon, man. So that's what we have to do, in our time of trouble. We have to, call upon the true holy names, Yahweh B'Ashem Yahweh Shah. Yahweh and Yahweh Shah. Those are the names we have to call upon so we can be, delivered out of our situation or get that strength that we need to endure those situations, man. It's Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 2 and verse 10. It say, look at the generations of old and see, did any ever trust in the Lord and was confounded? Right, man. All throughout the book, if you go back and read, no one ever put their trust in the Lord and was confounded, and you see the things that they went through, man. Imagine, getting put in a lion's den, man, full of hungry lions, but they're not hungry, you using them as pillows, man. The Lord, bringing you food, providing for you, that's a faith booster right there, man. You throw any of these, 2/3, or basically you throw anybody, any of these 2/3, you throw them in the lion's den, man, their first reaction is going to be to panic, It says, or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Whomever he, it say, whomever did he despise that called upon him? Right, man. You know, never. He ain't never despised no one that called upon him, man. You know, so likewise with us, you know, when we put in these situations where it look like there's no way out, we have to call upon Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man, because it's always a way out. You know, we might not be able to see it, but he can. You know, he can make an escape route for anything, man, whatever we're faced with. You know, this is Psalms 34:17. It say, the righteous cry, and the Lord heareth them and delivered them out of all their troubles. Right, man. You know, when we are faced with something, you know, we have to, you know, we have to pray. You know, we have to pray until we have to pray until Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. You know, we can't be so quick to move, you know, and think we doing it right, and the whole time it's the wrong way. You know, we have to sit back and let the Lord, you know, play things out. You know, pray unto him, put everything into his hands, man. You know, that's how we're going to be, you know, delivered in that time. That's how we're going to be protected in that time, by letting the Lord's work, man, because he's going to show his true power. Psalms 37:39, it say, but the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. He is their strength in the time of trouble. Right, man. You know, he's going to be our strength in the time of trouble, man. You know, by his works, man, you know, getting us through certain situations, you know, feeding us, you know, when it's a famine of food, you know, taking care of us, you know, so on and so forth, man. You're going to have, you know, newborn babies in that time, man. And let's say you have a newborn baby, you know, a newborn baby, you know, is supposed to have formula, man. The Lord is going to provide in that time, man. He's going to give you, you know, the proper, how I want to say, nourishing, if that's the word. He's going to give you the proper things you need, and he's also going to give your seed the proper things that they need, man. You know, but, you know, we are working now, you know, studying now, you know, going over all the tools that we need. That way, Salakia, that way when that time come, you know, we can be, you know, build up, you know, because the ones that's not doing this work, the ones that's forsaking this work, you know, when these times, you know, come upon them, you know, they're going to throw the towel in, man, because they haven't been doing the things, you know, that pleases Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. You know, they haven't been, you know, working out their salvation with fear and trembling, man. They've been BSing, you know, putting off day to day. The scripture tell you not to put off day to day, you know. Hey, but they think everything's a game, you know, until it's not, man. Everything is a joke until it's not funny no more. And we're coming into some times to where it's not going to be funny anymore. This is Revelations chapter 2 and verse 10. It say, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you in prison. Right, man. They're going to cast us in prison, man, because we are against everything that this world pushes, man. And we are speaking the truth, and they don't want the truth to come out, you know. So they're going to bound up some of us, you know, throw us in these prisons, you know, throw us in these concentration camps for however long. But we can't fear none of these things, man, because we know the Lord is with us whithersoever we go. You know, it said that ye may be tried. You know, you're going to be tried, man. Your faith is going to be tried. Do you really believe that the Lord is going to provide for you in those times? Do you really believe that the Lord is going to, you know, feed you? You know, do you really believe, and do you really have faith that the Lord is going to deliver you out of that situation, man? You know, you could be in prison, and the only thing they got, they know you don't eat pork, but the only thing they bring you is ham sandwiches, man. You know, do you really have the faith that you're going to be fed, you know? Ask yourself that, man. It say, and ye shall have tribulations 10 days, you know, time period, you know, not necessarily saying, you know, exactly 10 days is going to be a time period. It say, be thou faithful unto death, right, man? We have to be faithful unto death. You know, whatever we're tried with, whatever we're faced with, we have to endure it, you know. If they put us, you know, under the guillotine, you know, denounce the Lord or, you know, off with your head, man, you have to, hey, swallow that pill, man, off with your head. You know, we know what comes with this, you know. The scriptures say, blessed is the man that be persecuted for righteous sake, you know. As long as you're doing the things that you need to be doing, you know, you have nothing to worry about, man. It says, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. And that's what we're fighting for, man. We're fighting for that crown of life. But we also have to go through this to get to that, man. And it's not going to be a cakewalk. That's why I titled it, you know, it's going to be revealed by the fire who are the faithful. You know, the scriptures say, he that endured to the end, the same should be saved. You know, when we're faced with these trials and tribulations, you know, we have to endure them, you know, because we know what's coming after this, man. You know, you're not going to get the kingdom and that everlasting joy by, you know, just going through a cakewalk, man. No, it's going to be some hard times that we're going to be faced with, you know. But you have to endure those things, man, you know. But Lord willing, you know, this was edifying, you know, something that I wanted to get off my spirit. But with that being said, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushua, by Hashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles, the great millstone, who strive and taught us this truth. Peace, safety, and blessings to your brothers across 4 winds, pushing this truth. And